love that song every single time. What is poppin', fight fans? And welcome back to the Mystic Hour. I know we had the award show last week. That was fun. We had a really good time with that. Congratulations to the winners, of course. The man is in the building. Nick Marcus is here. I think I got it the right way.
You got it right. You got it right.
I got it right the first time.
Look at that.
What's poppin', Nick? What's up, man? Happy week. Happy
busy, man.
Rough kind of 221, but we're here. 221.
Yeah, 221. It almost feels that archaic, but I mean, but yeah, man, we're just moving and grooving. You know, we got a lot of things, but we got to just keep going on.
That's right. And we have a special guest with us today, joining us from the best culture and fight podcast in the world. Sergio Vicente in the house. What up, Sergio?
What is going on?
Right?
Thank you guys so much for having me.
This time. Can't get that one wrong.
Yeah, right. Nah, can't get that one wrong.
What's poppin', Sergio? How you living, man? How you living? West Coast life.
You know what I'm saying? We're doing very well out here, man. I appreciate you guys as always for having me on the show. Man, it's a lot of stuff has been happening, man.
Hey, we're back. We're back. The fights are back. Thank God, man. We've been waiting for this for such a long time. We took, 3 weeks off, 2 weeks? I don't know what it was.
But it felt too long, man. It felt way too long.
Way too long.
Yeah, it was.
But I'm glad we're back. I'm glad we got some fights this weekend.
I'm like stumbling over trying to catch up again.
Right? And it's going to be every weekend. Once again, the UFC is going to give us the pleasure of having amazing fights coming up. So, of course, we're excited for that. I feel like I'm about to walk somebody out wearing what I'm wearing right now. Like I'm a trainer in the background, going to bring my fighter up. Not the Reebok, but, sponsor me one time. But anyway.
Your best Paul Felder impression right there, just hopping off the set. And
I got to go, according to this fighter real quick after this. I'm going to fly to Abu Dhabi real fast. But speaking of Abu Dhabi, we got some fights this Saturday. The UFC is making its debut on ABC, which is huge. I know back in the day, the UFC made their debut on Fox. That was awesome. And now they have a really good card coming on for ABC. Nick, what does this mean for the UFC?
Well, I guess it means reaching a broader audience, right? It means being more accessible, no longer having to, have that ESPN Plus subscription. I mean, you still will have to, but I mean, now you're really reaching out. And if you want to catch people's attention, especially after the year that they had, this is the perfect place to put it. It's a lot more interesting than Dancing with the Stars, I'll tell you that much.
Hey, I like Dancing with the Stars. But anyways, Serge, do you think this is risky for ABC having a sport as violent as the UFC on a network television channel?
Oh, man. Come on, man. We just had a bunch of doofies run into the damn Capitol. They love carnage. What you mean, man? And Middle America gets these regular-ass channels, man. And honestly, at the end of the day, it has such a historical significance in terms of being on network television, combat sports specifically. I mean, we had old school, Ali fights that used to be on network TV, ABC specifically. Mm-hmm. So I think it's an awesome thing. I think it's going to be great. We've seen how well these cards end up doing on ESPN. Hey, man, Disney's trying to get a little bit more of that money.
That's right. They got to do it. And I feel like this is going to progress the sport so much, give it to another audience, maybe who don't have cable or something like that. And they can watch it right there on their network TV for free $99, which is great. And they're getting an amazing card with the former featherweight champion, Max Holloway, taking on an up-and-coming challenger and maybe a future title contender in the featherweight division, and Calvin Kattar from the, Massachusetts, that cartel over there with Rob Font and the boys on that side.
New England cartel.
New England cartel. My Lord, they are doing amazing. Let me ask you this, Serge. If Max Holloway wins this, is that an automatic back to the title, or is he kind of playing gatekeeper in this time period?
I really do think it really depends on what happens with Brian Ortega and Alexander Volkanovski, which I believe is what the UFC is kind of targeting next. If Brian Ortega gets that win, I think they make that Max Holloway Brian Ortega fight. But on the other hand, if you look at the fight and Alexander Volkanovski gets that win, I think they're going to make Max fight one more time. I do. They might end up probably making him fight like Zabit or something.
Calvin Kattar is a guy who fought Zabit. He could have won that if he started a little bit faster, because Calvin.
Yeah. If that went 5 rounds, he would have won.
If it went 5 rounds, he probably would have won that fight. But he had a really competitive fight against Zabit. He beat Jeremy Stevens, knocked him out. He beat Dan Ige, which was kind of a fight he took the more just busy, which is smart on him. Nick, what does
Mhm.
Keator have to do to a guy like Max Holloway to secure a victory and secure a title shot?
I think he has to have the same performance that he did at UFC 249, just absolutely wreck him. But I mean, that's a tall order with a guy like Max Holloway. Max Holloway is definitely, he's going to be itching for this opportunity. And it's kind of unfair the fact to think that he could win this one outright and that he probably still won't get an automatic title bout. Especially if it get against a third time against Volkanovski, because I don't think anybody really wants to see that. If they're 1-1 like Stipe and Cormier were, then maybe. But which most people would argue that they would be 1-1, or even he was 2-0 over Volkanovski. But that's a whole other story. I think Kattar just needs to come out strong and really take advantage of this opportunity, because he might have to wait longer. And who knows who steps in between now and then. And you really got to take the opportunities when they come knocking.
Absolutely. And I think I got and not really a hot take, but I feel that Max Holloway doesn't have much to prove at featherweight because he's beaten a majority of these guys. I know there's some guys that are coming up, but a majority of these guys he's beaten once or beaten them twice. So I feel like for Max Holloway, who is only 29, he just turned 29 years old. You would think that Max Holloway is 34, 35, right? Because the amount of fights that he's had, the 14 fight unbeaten streak he had at featherweight, 14 or 12, I forget the number, but either way, that's a long 12 fight winning streak in the featherweight division. That's a very long time. So you think he'd be that old, but he's not. If I'm Max Holloway and I beat Calvin Kattar and they don't give me a title shot, I'm moving up to lightweight, because if he goes up to lightweight, they'll give him a higher contender, and then he doesn't have to cut that much weight. The older he gets, the harder it is for him to cut that weight. I know he's made weight every single time, having that issue the one time against Khabib that was short notice. But besides that, I'm moving up in weight, giving myself a different kind of a challenge and going to the most competitive weight class I feel in the UFC.
Do you think he should? I mean, I think he should probably move up also when you think about it, especially because if he wins and obviously he doesn't get the Volkanovski fight right away. Do you think he should take some time to put muscle on? Because I think the only reason he really lost to Dustin Poirier was because of the size and because Dustin had his time to put some mass on. I think he really needs a little bit of time to put some size on. How long do you guys think he needs?
I don't think too long, because it's not like a John Jones going to heavyweight and you have to make up that big, huge mass. But maybe take a summer, not take 3 fights a year. Maybe take 2, one in earlier. Take the summer off, put that muscle on, and by November, December, he's got a bigger frame. He fits the molding more, and then he can come into that lightweight division. Maybe give him a Tony Ferguson. I'll watch Max Holloway versus Tony Ferguson. I'll watch Max Holloway against Justin Gaethje.
Beat the shit out of Tony Ferguson.
100%. I would love to watch that.
To that assassination list. Jesus, yeah. No, I don't think he'd take that long. I think it's spot on what Darnell's saying, is that he takes this one fight, and then no matter the outcome, he can take the summer to bulk up a bit, move up to that next division, especially with the vacancies that are there. I mean, if there are vacancies, we'll see what happens with all this, with this whole situation with Habib and all these other guys. But no, yeah, man. And like you said, who wouldn't tune in for a Max Holloway fight?
Oh yeah, I'm watching.
Every fighter's favorite fighter.
Yeah, I'm not dying to see Max Holloway against Volkanovski, because Volkanovski just has this style to where anybody he fights, it's just going to be not that entertaining. I know he had that really good one against Chad Mendes, but besides that, if you watch a Volkanovski fight, they're not that entertaining. No offense to him, because he has the best. They have really good game plans. They have
he's just a really good defensive fighter. Like he knows how to approach every fight. And like you said, it's kind of drawn out. It's like, yeah, okay, he's the champion, but he's not really someone that, I mean, look at Holloway's no longer the champion, and I'm more excited to see him than Volkanovski against Ortega. Granted, I'm excited to see Ortega, but not because of Volkanovski.
Well, Calvin Kattar and those guys, and I had the opportunity to talk to Rob Font on my show yesterday. And he was saying how they are treating this, and they believe this is actually the championship fight. They're like, Max won the title. This is the championship fight. And that's how they're going into it. So I think everybody, if that's how the fighters and everybody else are looking at it, I think that's how the world is really looking at this fight. And that's why I think this fight, they're giving it such a pedestal and putting it on ABC is because of that. It's not because of the rest of the card. It's because of Max and Kelvin, because all of us know this is the championship fight.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. But guys, I don't know if we're going to agree here. We need predictions, baby. Come on now. It's that time. It's that time. Holloway versus Calvin Kattar. I'm going to start with Nick. What you got? If you got a prediction now.
Look, I don't have a prediction right now, but I am looking very forward to this fight. And I don't want to put money on this, but I definitely wouldn't put it against Max Holloway, especially this guy being one of the best, and not only being one of the best, but having that extra motivation, feeling that he's been duped twice, and going into this guy, like I'd be scared to beat Calvin Kattar. Calvin Kattar's a scary dude, but the fact that I gotta go against a pissed off Max Holloway, that's not gonna go down too well for him.
What you got for me, Serge? What you got for me?
Look, man, Max Holloway just came out and said that he has not sparred at all for this fight. Those boys at the New England Cartel, man, their boxing is different. Range management is different. And you can tell that they're on a run right now. It's their time. Almost similar to what we're seeing with Eugene Behrman and all those boys over there at City Kickboxing and down in New Zealand. It almost feels like it's their time. And we're not going to say Max is washed because, I mean, obviously he's only 29 years old. And it just feels like Calvin Kattar is just coming. It feels like it's this wave. Calvin Kattar's time's coming, but Max gonna whoop that ass, boy.
Bro, you always with the build-ups, man. You with your build-ups.
Max gonna whoop his ass. I think it's gonna be a great fight, but come on, man. Me personally, the last time I saw Max Holloway lose a fight was to Conor McGregor. I'm gonna keep it a bean. That's the last time I actually thought he actually lost a fight. So I still think Max is the best in that weight class. Come on, man.
So this morning I went and I watched the face-off between Max Holloway and Calvin Kattar, and I forgot how big of a featherweight Max Holloway is. My Lord, he was kind of towering over Calvin Kattar. And I thought Calvin Kattar was a big featherweight himself, but apparently not that big compared to Max. So in this fight, is size going to matter? 100% size is going to matter because Max Holloway is just too good everywhere for him to have that issue against a guy like Calvin Kattar, who doesn't. He has great boxing, but he doesn't really mix it up. And the guys who have ever come close to beating Max Holloway mix it up. They take him down a little bit. They're giving him that scare. I might take you down. Max Holloway's not going to be afraid at all to step forward, to push forward. He can start fast, just like he did against Volkanovski. And Calvin Kattar has a real bad problem of starting fast. Every single fight, he's never proven me wrong. Every single fight, he just always starts slow. So I think Max Holloway starts fast. Max Holloway gets better as rounds go. We know this from past experience of watching Max Holloway fight. I think Max Holloway beats him. Decision. I don't think he finishes him. That's a little tough to do with a guy like Calvin Kattar. It's possible, but don't know. We'll see what happens. It's going to be a good fight, but I'm taking the blessed one to take this one and then hopefully move up to another weight class. And you know what? Let's see Max Holloway, Conor McGregor Part 2 for a title, or even Dustin Poirier. Would be beautiful.
You hear what Max said, right? Max says, I get through this one scot-free. I'm going to go. Max, you don't want to hear what I had to say?
Right? No, I don't want to hear it. Okay.
Cut him out.
Max said that at the end of the day, he said if he gets through this one like he plans to, he said he'll stay and he's willing to step in on short notice if someone has to pull out in the championship fight. And try to say it's going to be the championship fight next weekend. Yeah.
Hey, if it can happen, it's going to be. They just don't want to drop it yet, but Dana White is just going crazy with that. But we got a great co-main event on this ABC card as well. Some people, if you look at their records, if you're a casual MMA fan, be like, oh, these guys lost so many fights. Like, why am I going to watch this fight? These are two of one of the most exciting fighters in UFC history, no matter what. No matter what fight they're in, if they lose or not, they are balls to the wall. They're going for it. They're going for a finish. They're going for some kind of fight of the night. It is amazing at all times. You got to love them. Carlos Condit, a former UFC interim welterweight champion, is taking on Matt Brown, two guys who've been fighting for the UFC for a very long time. Carlos Condit came from the WEC. Matt Brown has just put together such amazing fights, knockouts, submissions, anything you want. If you watch highlights of Matt Brown, it's always amazing. These guys are taking a fight against each other. I know Matt Brown's 40, Carlos Condit is 36. They're older, but they're not old as human beings. They're just older in their fighting career because they've fought so many people. Nick, do you think this is a loser retires kind of fight? or does that only go in considerment to like Matt Brown, who has taken more like knockouts in his career?
I wouldn't say retirement as much as forced retirement from UFC. I think UFC is kind of like continuing to narrow down their staff, and I think this is, these guys are more seasoned than a spice rack. They've been around for a long time, and yeah, I think that they want to keep it moving with some of the younger crowd, with some of the newer fighters, and I think that's why they set up fights like this. It's not so much as an even playing field as it is like sort of a sudden death, and death I mean like their spot in UFC. But yeah, maybe I think that's essentially what they set out to be. But I mean, we've seen guys over 40. I mean, look at Glover Teixeira, still doing it and doing it big, and these guys are kind of on the turnaround, even though they've been through slumps. So we'll see what happens when they finish.
Serge, do you think Carlos Condit can still be a contender at welterweight with this victory, or is he more fighting just because he loves the sport so much?
Carlos Condit has been relevant for about 6 years, so let's just keep it a bean.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I thought when he like rededicated himself, came back, it seemed as if he was like ready, and then he got finished again. I feel like he's gotten finished like his last 4 fights in like the first round or something like that. Yep. He is a legend. If you guys haven't seen prime Carlos Condit, go back and look at some of the amazing fights. The knockout he had over Dan Hardy. I mean, dude is legitimately one of the best that we had. He was, and you would have thought that his skill set would have like really evolved and adapted. But would it be injuries or hearing the same thing, being at Jackson's as long as he has? It just seems as if it hasn't connected in a long time. So I don't ever see him being a contender again, unfortunately.
I don't disagree with that, but as he was speaking yesterday, I always look at fighters and how they speak before a fight and how they've changed things. But if they can speak but not change anything, he's changing things and he still has the love for the sport. So I feel like if he really wants to, and if he really can put that time, and if he's still putting that time into MMA right now, he definitely can be, because Carlos Condit is not a guy who's getting KO'd. I don't think Carlos Condit has ever been KO'd in his UFC career.
Well, let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that because his Achilles heel hasn't been, the dude is one of the most well-rounded guys ever. He's, he can grapple, he can strike, but his Achilles heel is that people who are wrestlers dominate him. They hold him down, they control him, he gets dominated.
Yeah.
Welterweight is historically, especially now, at the top is extremely the
Kobe Covingtons, the Kamaru Usmans,
even Gilbert Burns.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when I look at that, and that's why I look at it, just this weight class, this timing, I don't care what he does. That's who you are. You're 36 years old. You're not all of a sudden gonna become some fucking, Izzy wrestling ass motherfucker. Like, I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's not going to be Cael Sanderson next month.
It's true. He does get taken out pretty easy. But I feel if he wins his fight, impressive KO, which I think can happen against Matt Brown, because in Matt Brown's last couple of fights hasn't gone too well. But I think he can get a good victory. And if I was Carlos Condit, you know what? I've been in the UFC long enough. Let me go to Bellator and I can get a title there, because I'd watch Carlos Condit against Diego Lima. 100%, not Diego, against Douglas Lima.
What do you have against Carlos Condit?
I would watch Carlos Condit against Douglas Lima. Listen,
Douglas Lima would put his face through the dirt. Are you crazy?
But he's not going to wrestle him. They're going to stand up and fight. I'll watch that. Carlos Condit's not losing fights on his feet. He's not. Okay. He's getting taken down, submitted, and getting grounded, pounded. So go to Bellator, fight these guys who usually are not. They're not wrestling heavy over there, especially in that division. Fight a Douglas Lima, they're gonna sell. Yeah. People know who Carlos Condit is. He's been on Fox.
Carlos Condit, Paul Daley.
Paul Daley, come on. I think that was supposed to happen in the UFC. But Paul Daley is going through something with his weight, and like he can't get out of the UK, so that's gonna be a little difficult. But I would love to watch.
That's a fight.
I'd prefer to see Carlos Condit finish his career in Bellator, possibly even win a title. I think he can, because of the difference in competition on that side, and just those guys are not going to take him down, because the top of the UFC top welterweight guys, too many wrestlers. That's gonna be too difficult for him. So Bellator, give me that. But this is gonna be a very entertaining fight for sure. I'm a little worried for Matt Brown. If Matt Brown gets KO'd here, I hope he just calls it quit, because he doesn't need to do that to himself anymore. We watched this. I don't know if you guys saw the story about Spencer Fisher. This fighting too long. dealing with dementia and a lot of other things like the short-term memory loss, which is very scary. Last thing you want to see happen to a guy like Matt Brown who has 3 kids, runs businesses, doesn't need to do it anymore, made plenty of money, makes plenty of money from his businesses. So had a wonderful career. He could be a future Hall of Famer with all his finishes in every fight that he's had, fights against
Westside Barbell guy.
What was that?
Westside Barbell guy.
Yeah, man.
Big Westside Barbell dude.
Big time. So like it would be awesome for him to, get into Hall of Fame and just like end his career there. But as somber and as wonderful as that sounded, you guys got to give me your prediction for this one. I started with Nick last time, Serge. I started with you this time.
Man, this was a hard one for me. I'm not gonna lie. And you know what? It's funny when UFC doesn't tend to do this. They tend to put they usually put like some young buck against one of these dudes to just beat his fucking head in, right? This is what you're supposed to do with these old grizzled vets. Let them old guy versus old guy action. Let me see it, right? This is a pick'em fight. I think that, man, yes, Carlos kind of could absolutely catch him, but Matt Brown's grappling is really fucking good, and he can take him down and control him. We forget what he did in Cuba. Remember, he was going down and training with the Cuban national team.
That's right.
I'm gonna go Matt Brown on this one. I'm just gonna go Matt Brown. I think he's gonna be able to control him. I think he's gonna be able to out grapple him and control Carlos Condit. I think it's gonna be a back and forth fight, but I can see Matt Brown controlling him.
Nick,
I look at this fight like kind of like your uncles at the cookout getting in a fight. You don't really care who wins. You're just entertained. So I don't really have a pick necessarily. I think that these two guys, obviously they have a lot to lose, but like you said, like maybe Brown, Condit, maybe, it's a nice turnaround story for him. But as far as Brown, like he doesn't need this anymore, but so if he can go out for a win, I'll root for that. But yeah, like I said, I'm just entertained. Like it's so true what Serge says. You usually get these older guys to fight one of these young bucks coming up, and that's exactly what I want to see. I want to see these old guys battle it out. I don't want to see them against the young guy that's gonna, like why are you gonna have the old guy, the poor old man, beat down by some guy that with more flexibility, sacrificial lamb, exactly. Like take him out to pasture and just or to the glue factory. Just let these old guys battle it out. And we'll see what happens. But I'm definitely going to be entertained with this fight. But as far as who wins, like I really don't have an interest there.
Yeah, for this fight, I love these guys. Watch them for long periods of time. But the way that Carlos Condit is speaking, I really believe in his words. He said he's going to go in there and he's going to whoop Matt Brown's ass. I haven't heard Carlos Condit talk like that in a very long time. So he must have some kind of motivation burning inside of him. Matt Brown
better not get knocked out.
He's been Matt Brown.
By the way, the best nickname of all.
Natural born killer. Come on. That's so good. That's so good. But I think Matt Brown's been too slow these days. Carlos Condit will be able to defend whatever Brown is going to come at him within like a second round and probably finish him in the second round with a KO head kick. I'm predicting that one. Carlos Condit, second round, TKO or KO actually, because Matt Brown just can't take those shots anymore. I don't want to see it happen, but I feel like that's which way it's going to go. But speaking of KO, Joaquin Buckley returns already. My God, this guy is taking fights whenever he can against Alessio De Chirico, who I can't even say it right. Nick, you probably know how to say it better than me. But anyways, the man from the Chirico. It's coming from Italy, taking on Joaquin Buckley. He's lost his past 3 fights, Alessio has, which I'm kind of a little confused. Why? No, I'm not confused because I think UFC is giving him this fight to kind of get Buckley another flash crazy KO again. Nick, do you think that Buckley needs another flash KO or he just has to go in there and win and that's all that matters?
I think all he needs to do is go in and win. I don't think that UFC was being too serious with this matchup. I think that's exactly what they're looking for. They're looking for the pizzazz and everything. But I mean, there's really, it's an unnecessary added pressure, right? Like just, it's already pressure enough to have to win. Like why now all of a sudden have to come out with this other Dragon Ball Z type knockout, right? So I don't think it's going to happen again. I think people are going to tune in and hope that that's what's going to happen. But I mean, just let the guy fight and win. That you should just be happy with that. I wouldn't necessarily want to add that, like I said, that extra pressure that's in reality unnecessary.
Serge, do you think Cherico has a bad style for Buckley to get that kind of a KO because Cherico is not a guy who's getting finished like all the time. It's always
No.
decision losses.
Yeah, he's a tough dude. You know, I'll say he's definitely a tough guy, but he's not nearly as athletic as Buckley is. Buckley is far more athletic, and the only people who really beat Buckley, as we see, are guys who are elite athletes. And
Kevin Holland.
I mean, then Kevin Holland is an elite athlete. You know, like let's keep it a spade. You know, call a spade a spade. And when we actually look at it, this fight. Again, I think it's going to be good, but this fight is set up to make Joaquin Buckley look good. Really, it's just, let's continue building your star. Let's continue building this up. So I don't really care if he doesn't actually get the knockout per se, but I think he needs to be dominant either way.
I'm just upset that the UFC did not give Joaquin Buckley James Krause. They had everything there. They both called each other out after their fights. Like, why is this not happening? Put that fight together. It was very easy to make.
Giving him to Diego Sanchez.
I give it to Diego Sanchez. Like, what is that? That is crazy. But you got a guy like James Krause who's always ready to fight. This guy has taken so many short notice fights. Buckley was ready. Put that fight together. What are you putting him against a guy who's on a 3-fight losing streak? I don't get that.
Crazy.
And it's on the main card as well, too. I get it because Buckley can have a flash crazy KO. He definitely does have it in his power. But it's going to be – I think it's going to be a pretty fast fight. I don't see it going past the first or second round. They could have gotten a couple other fights on there on that main card. I don't think that was the greatest choice, but we'll see what happens. No matter what, it's going to be a good card. But we got some good fights coming up. They announced
real quick,
a lot
that
of
Ponzinibbio Jenglang fight's going to be a good
Oh,
one
yeah,
too,
the Ponzinibbio coming back with
Yeah.
Yijing Lang. That's going to be a good fight as well. I'm glad to see Ponzinibbio come back from being in the top 7 of the welterweight class to going to almost dying from a horrible staph infection. He had a staph infection, right?
Staph infection.
Staph infection, which is scary to happen in MMA. That happens to a lot of these guys. Took the life of Kevin Randleman. He passed away from having a staph infection. So scary thing to happen, but Ponzinibbio definitely a fight and a fighter to watch on that main card. But we got some good ones coming up. We haven't talked about fights coming up in a while. I know it's been a couple of weeks, but this one I am extra excited for. Cyril Gain taking on Nick. You say the name because I can never say it.
Rosenstreich.
First name?
Jairzinho.
Thank you. This is a great heavyweight fight right here. This can decide a contender, honestly, because we got Stipe and Ngannou happening not too far off, and there's not too many other guys who can really I claim to that heavyweight title shot besides John Jones, but we're not going to go there yet until he has a fight. But man, is this too early for Gain, Nick?
Ooh.
I mean, if you really want to climb your way to the top, you can't just expect an easy path. You gotta go against the big boys. You know, you gotta prove that you belong in this realm, in this domain, and you know, like I said before, you know, the opportunity comes knocking, you gotta take it, right? The only thing is that you gotta be careful the opportunity doesn't knock you out.
That's right. I like that. What kind of game plan so Cyril Gain take against a guy like Rosenstreich, Serge?
Ooh. You have to be aggressive, and you have to be able, because that's we forget. We see, Rosenstreich get knocked out by Francis, but at the end of the day, that fight could have gone either way. That's a gunfight. That was a gunfight, and he just happened to get off first. He just had, so you have to blitz him, because here's the thing. Rosenstreich is such a decorated kickboxer. He is patient, and he will wait you out. Look at what he did to Alistair Overeem. He waited Alistair Overeem out till he found the precise moment to explode. And that is what Jairzinho has. Think about it. After he got KO'd by Francis, he came back and beat the shit out of this dude is a game. He's ready. So the only way you beat him, you have to be aggressive against him. You have to blitz him.
That's
scary.
It's literally very, very scary. But Gain is not a guy who blitzes. He just fights at a certain, he takes his time. He's not going to rush. He almost reminds me of, I don't know if you remember this fighter, Francis Carmont. Francis Carmont was a guy who just literally kind of stood back and waited for his time to pounce, and it would always pounce. But I don't know. I don't see this looking too good for Gain. I think Rosenstreich can just use that kickboxing, which is just so amazing. And it's not going to be too much of a gunslinger kind of thing, because he's not a guy who's going to press forward like Francis is. And Francis was just like, I'm coming in. I'm coming in.
Yeah,
I get knocked out or I'm knocking you out, no matter what we're doing here.
That Toyo tire toughness.
Exactly. So that's going to be very interesting to see. But I can't wait for that fight. That's going to be a lot of fun. But Nick, before you go, I know Nick is going to be leaving soon. We're going to switch topics really fast, and we'll get back into the fight announcements. We had a big trade happen yesterday. James Harden got traded to the Brooklyn Nets. Oh, man. One of the biggest trades. Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah, now we can.
Can you hear it? All of a sudden. What? See?
You can't hear
technology.
us? Uh-oh. All right, we'll let Serge figure that one out. He'll come back.
Yeah.
We got James Harden, Brooklyn Nets. It's him, Kyrie, maybe, and Kevin Durant on one team. What a huge trade that was! And before we even dive deep into it, I was hearing from other teams of how much they wanted for James Harden. That they wanted from the Miami Heat, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, the new rookie, Kendrick Nunn, the new rookie they just got.
Precious Achiuwa.
Yeah, Precious Achiuwa. Too many people just for James Harden. That's wild. And then from the Boston Celtics, they wanted Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, and 4 draft picks. That's nuts. So I mean, it still ended up being a whirlwind of a trade. They had to do it between 3 different teams, but that is just crazy of the trade that they just put together. No worries. So Nick, what do you think James Harden's going to have more success or fix his attitude and fix his weight when he gets to Brooklyn?
Well, you know the funny thing is that I think his attitude. I don't think his attitude was ever. I think he was problematic this year, obviously, because he just wanted to get out. Right? I mean, that's all that you need to do in order to get out.
You got to gain that much weight to get out too, dude. That's crazy.
No, I know. Well, that's different. That's that quarantine weight. I don't know, man. Or you know what? I know that Tootsie's has incredible chicken wings, and maybe they do over there too in Houston. So maybe he's just been filling up too much over there in Houston. I know that the strip clubs are going to be sad to see him go, but New York, I'm sure, has their own kind and caliber. But I mean, yeah, I think he's going to fix his attitude. I think. I mean, it's going to be weird seeing these two. I want to say 3 guys, but what's so funny is that I don't even know if this is a piece to add or a piece to replace Kyrie, because Kyrie is with him going AWOL and stuff like that, who knows what's going to happen with that. But these 3 guys, on paper, yeah, this is. I think that they'll be an incredible team, but I mean, these are really big personalities, and I know that Steve Nash is a competitive person. He's definitely the type of person to not shy away from this moment. But man, he's got a really big, job on his plate. Trying to get these 3 to collaborate.
Serge, is the Brooklyn Nets beating the Milwaukee Bucks or the Boston Celtics to make it to the NBA Finals with this team?
I'm sorry, and the Miami Heat defending Eastern Conference.
Oh my God! And the Miami Heat. I apologize. I forgot about that. And the Miami Heat. I said the Milwaukee Bucks. I said the Milwaukee Bucks, and I feel the Milwaukee Bucks are trash in my opinion.
It's all right. I like to be under the radar.
Do you think that they can come out of the East with the team that they have, or did they give up too much in giving up LeVert? I forget the center's name. A lot of guys, a lot of
the entire team.
Allen.
Allen. Oh my God, they gave up a lot of people. You think they gave up too much to make this big 3?
I do.
Or 2, because we don't know what Kyrie's doing with his basketball career.
Truly, because I'll be honest with you guys, I have 0 to no faith in Kyrie Irving. He blew up the Celtics. He is already at this point in time missed twice the amount of games that he's actually had with Brooklyn at this already. Do you know what I mean? And then we talk about, like I said, James Harden, who's coming in, who obviously didn't show he was dedicated, blatantly disrespected his teammates. And then, not to mention, let's just keep it. Let's go down the list. He acts as if Houston didn't give him everything he has ever wanted. Yep. They wanted to give. He wanted more. Give me CP3 here.
Give me CP3.
I need more shit. I want a coach that lets me shoot. Yeah. Here, take him. I want to, I want to play with my boy Russ. Here, take him. And now you're like, oh, I'm not happy with what they've done. That organization gave you every single thing. So all of a sudden he's going to be able to go up here and all of a sudden turn it on. And then, like you said, they're going up there and they gave away their entire team. What's his name? Dinwiddie is out because he's hurt, right? He hurt himself.
Yep.
And then Karis LeVert, who I'm really high on, because I was like, look, they got Karis LeVert. That's a dangerous team, and he was doing work for them, especially with Kyrie out. He was doing.
I think it was like averaging like 24 points a game or something like that.
Yes, and now they got rid of him also. I mean, so they have 0 bench. they have zero cap space, and they have
Yep.
2 stars that honestly, how are they going to coexist? And, I mean, all of a sudden, we forget when KD and Harden played together, it was a 6-man versus superstar. Now he's coming in as, look, dude, I'm an MVP also. I deserve the ball. And then the other ones, I know I deserve the ball. Like, how is this going to work?
It's not going to work. That's exactly how it's going to work, because it's impossible for that to work in any kind of circumstance. I know people talk about the big three from Miami Heat with LeBron, Chris Bosh, and Dwayne Wade, but 3 different kinds of players, guys who did not demand the ball in their hands at every time.
No.
LeBron is a guy who can pass. Chris Bosh can pass the ball too, and so can Dwayne Wade, and they can share. Kyrie has to have that ball stuck to his hand. Kevin Durant is not a guy.
They have no size.
And they have no size. Yeah, Kevin Durant is not running around with his shot like he's Stephen Curry. No, he creates his own shot, and so does James Harden. I know James Harden can pass sometimes, but like now you lose a LeVert, you lose a lot of guys. Who does he want to? And now who are you passing the ball to in a sense of like a outside 3-point shot or something like that? I know Kevin Durant can hit it. I know Kyrie can hit it, but like they're gonna want that ball in their hands so they can create their own shots. It's gonna be a disaster. I'm predicting a big disaster. Kevin Durant didn't even seem that excited when they asked him about it. He just said, "It's gonna be fun." That's it.
Like, yeah, man.
I mean, we have.
The thing is that like Kyle Irving, he's like a herpes sore, man. He comes and goes as he pleases. Like he's not like, and you can't really be relying on when you already got that situation. Now, like let's say he doesn't come back, or let's say that he wants to get traded, and he pulls a James Harden, right? Now you got these 2 guys. You got no size, like Serge mentioned. You got no bench. What are you going to do? And not only that, but who the hell is going to want Kyrie Irving? Especially the fact that he just had that massive contract that he was given.
Yeah, and Stephen A. Smith made a very hot take yesterday. He said, Kyrie Irving, you know what? Retire. We don't want to. You don't know what you want to do with your NBA career. Clearly, basketball is not that important.
Didn't want to talk to the media.
They don't want to talk to
any of the media.
It's just something. Something is he's definitely having some kind of mental issue for sure with this whole. The time period of the coronavirus, and even before that, kind of from him bouncing from team to team, it shows you that something is not something. He's not in love with something, and I don't think he's that in love with basketball. Unfortunately, as scary as that sounds, even though you watch him play sometimes, like man, this guy's unstoppable. But
yeah, I don't know if it's fun to him.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
If he didn't have to deal with media anymore, he's kind of, what he kind of has? He has Ronda Rousey syndrome, to where it's just like, you know what, guys, don't talk to me and let me just do. Bitch assness, yeah. Just let me just do what I do and just don't talk to me while I do this. You gotta do that. It's just the media. You get paid $30 to $40 million a year, and all you have to do is talk to guys who you're not even close to, who have no impact on your life. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think he needs to stop being a crybaby. Play basketball. I'm not saying shut up and dribble. I'm saying talk and dribble. Speak your mind. Say everything you have to do, because you can't.
Exactly. Nobody's putting a muzzle on him, so I don't see why he's, it's like, dude, say what you want to say. Like, or even like at worst case scenario, pull a Marshawn Lynch, right? I'm just here so I don't get fined.
That's
but
it.
At least, come on, like if you're not invested, dude. If you're not invested, like, I mean, maybe who knows? Maybe there's things that are more important. I mean, clearly there are things more important to him than basketball right now. And by all means, man, you know what? You've had a great career. You've done well. You're successful. You don't need to be here anymore, man. Like, if you don't want to be here, don't force it. Love. It's like love is like a fart. If you're gonna force it, it's probably shit.
That's great. I wasn't expecting that one. But on that note, Nick, I know you got to go, man. Thank you so much, of course, for being on here. We'll be back next week to break down that big card.
Yeah, for sure. We got so many.
We got a round table.
It's a shame that I had to.
Round table in, yeah. And Nick, we got.
Definitely.
We gotta get you on a round table one of these days, also, my brother. We got to get you on.
Oh, for sure, man, for sure. I'm Mr. Casual. I got to fill in the demographic. Yeah, anytime, man. I what's it called? Yeah, it's a shame that of all days today that I had to hop off early, but so many topics, man. So many. I mean, this whole NBA thing, but on top of that, like the fights that are coming up. I will say this before I go off: if Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor does turn into a title fight, I'm gonna say that is hogwash. I think that Gaethje should have been the one to get the opportunity to get that title. And it just goes to show that money walks and bullshit talks.
Hey. All right. On that note, Nick, we appreciate you. We'll be back from Chiesa and Magny to preview that card next week.
All right. Sounds good, man. You guys have a good day.
All right, boss. We'll talk. Justin Gaethje should have beat Dustin Poirier if you want to be in that title shot. He lost though, so Poirier gets that shot. But I get it on the McGregor end though. I feel 100% feel Nick on that one.
They gonna give it to McGregor regardless, man. He's one of those,
Yeah.
I mean, he is the money. You're going to try to give your biggest athletes the belts. It makes sense. I get it. I don't. I'm as a sportsman. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like we would prefer somebody else to get the opportunity, but they're gonna give Conor the opportunity. And here's the thing. He's still elite. We can't take that away from him.
It's not like this guy's trash or just like, he takes terrible losses and stuff like that. Nah, man, I completely understand it. And we're going to see how he looks next Saturday. But we'll talk about that more next week. But, Serge, let me ask you this. Do we have a Ferguson versus Khabib Nurmagomedov kind of problem with this fight with Edwards and Hazmat? They booked it again. This is for the third time. It's going to be happening in March. Are we going to actually see this fight, or is something going to happen? Because Hazmat was dealing with COVID symptoms, which can last for Jesus, who knows how long. Cody Garbrandt was dealing with so much of that stuff, and like it was affecting his body pretty grave. Lost a lot of weight. Are we going to see this fight actually happen, or should he just move on for that? Give Leon Edwards a different kind of fight. Let Hazmat figure something else out, or you still want to see this fight?
How did what's his name? He used to do the color commentary for UFC. Virtually identical. It's
Mike Goldberg.
Yeah, Mike Goldberg. It's one of those moments, right? It's just virtually identical. Same shit. Look, man, this is one of those fights that at the end of the day, this is a fan service fight. Chimaev does not deserve to fight Leon Edwards at this point in time. He doesn't. He's the number 14 ranked guy in the weight class. And we have to keep that into account. So, yes, we should give Leon Edwards somebody else. Give him somebody he deserves if that's not going to happen. Well, we want to see it, cool, but I'm going to be honest with you. I don't like this fight for the simple fact that you're going to break your toy. We have a new shiny thing. You put him in there with fucking Leon, and Leon scuffs him. We don't want to play with this shiny thing anymore. Look at Edmund Shabazian.
He's been gone for a while since he took that beating from Derek Brunson, and they were hooking him up like he was about to be this best thing in that welterweight division.
Dog,
in that middleweight division.
And that's the thing. You put him out there. You have to, with these guys that have that much potential. It's a slow burn, man. Give him that slow burn and give him the guys that make sense. Adesanya's rise, there were guys that made sense for his development. There were the guys at his level. It was always a little bit of a step up. You have same thing with McGregor. It was literally that it was a slow burn, a little bit of a step up, a little bit of a step up. It was what he could handle, right? But it was guys that were better. You're literally going from a guy who wasn't ranked to the number 2 guy in the weight class. Yo, there's levels to this fucking game for a reason.
Yeah, and I feel like that was just like life telling you guys, like, hey, this is not it. Slow Hazmat down. There's no reason to rush him. He's so young. He's got plenty of time. I get the whole excuse
Bless
me.
you. No worries.
I get the whole like, oh, he gained 1 million followers overnight kind of thing. You have to take advantage of it. I get that. I understand that. I'd want to do that too, but you're just risking too much putting him against a beast like Leon Edwards. I think it was a sign. I was a big fan of this fight before, but now I don't need to see it happen yet. Give Leon Edwards somebody else and let him work from there and fight somebody more close within his ranking. That'll be a better idea, smarter decision. There's so many guys who are looking for fights in the welterweight division. Put him against one of those guys. So
put him in there with Mohamed Bilal.
Mohamed Bilal, somebody who's actually ranked, great fighter too.
He's ranked 13. He's ranked right in front of Kyle.
Right in front of Osman, like right there. Give him a guy like that, but no, they wanted to push him all the way up the ranks and kind of do a thing. He beat the number 2 guy. Now he deserves a title shot. We have a new Khabib. I don't know. We're in an entertainment period for sure of the UFC, so that's showing a big amount. But we got a fight that is not confirmed yet, but hopefully this is going to be happening in around the April time period on that card with Figueiredo and Moreno Part 2. Whew, Aldo Garbrandt. What's the feels on this fight, Serge? When Garbrandt was doing this interview and he was just like, I want Jose Aldo. I got chills, man. I got chills. I would love to see this.
I would love to see this fight, and especially because. Man, Jose Aldo's been looking good. Yeah, he took a loss to Peter Yan, but early in that fight, he was touching that boy up. And one thing that we've noticed, and this is one thing that makes fighters exciting, right? And you see, I feel like this more with the boxers than like MMA fighters, but the guys that have the ability to be hurt,
Yeah.
and still come back are guys that the fans love. Donald Cerrone, those type of dudes. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So Cody Garbrandt has a little bit of that in him. He's a gunslinger. That he lives by the sword, he dies by the sword. And he's literally going out there against the ultimate gunslinger. This is a fight that I think will be all action. This is a fight that I do not see going to the judges. And I'll be very honest with you. The Jose Aldo that I saw last time out, that looked like he evolved his game and learned how to hey, I need to get a win and I'm going to dominate my opponent on the ground against a legit fucking dude on the ground.
Yeah.
Yo, Jose Aldo, man, people need to watch the fuck out.
They forget the other skills that he has, and he definitely went in there when he fought Chito Vera and showed every skill that he has, from the ground game to the striking and being patient with his striking. One thing I would say about this fight, it's going to be one of the fastest fights you've ever seen in your life. These guys are so damn fast. You know Cody's quick. You know Jose's quick. Jose's even quicker at bantamweight. Oh my God. It's the difference definitely is going to be power, because I don't know. Does Cody have more power than Jose Aldo?
He doesn't.
I don't think so. Jose Aldo's pretty powerful guy. He's body shot.
Coming down.
And he's coming down. Yeah, I think Jose Aldo.
Kicks again.
Yeah, he's throwing leg kicks, which I've never seen anybody test Cody Garbrandt.
Cody's Garbrandt's legs look like this.
It looks like they're skinny legs. But Cody Garbrandt has that counter with that right hook whenever he wants to throw that. So that's another thing that can combat it. But it's definitely going to be a chess match, a patience game. And that's going to be such a good fight. I hope it happens. I hope they put it on that undercard against Figueiredo and Moreno Part 2, which is not confirmed yet.
Amazing.
I put not confirmed yet because none of this is confirmed. It's just being spoken about, but it might happen when we're going to break those news. Serge might break it on his page. We'll put it out there. It'll be somewhere, but hopefully they break this news very soon. Absolutely. Let's go straight to this hot topic. Pat Miletich, a former UFC champion, Pat Miletich.
The first UFC welterweight champion.
Pat Miletich, got fired from his commentating position at LFA for being in the riots in DC. Was he one of the guys that entered the Capitol building? No, he was not, but he was still there during this time period. I'm just putting out the news there for anybody who doesn't know, so I can give the correct information before we give our thoughts about it. Sergio, if you are running the LFA, you find this out about your commentator that he was there during that time period. Are you talking to them first about making appearances like that? Or is that an automatic, out of here?
It's an automatic, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even a question. You were going out there and hanging out and taking pictures. He's posted pictures on his Facebook pages with people throwing up the white power sign. You can't even hide that. You can't even sit there and say that, hey, I was there for, journalistic perspective. I was there for this. I was there for that. You were sitting there with white supremacists throwing up white power signs. You put that on your own personal page, so that means to me that you're putting that out there. This is who I am. And at the end of the day, all those people who were there are not patriots. They're traitors to this nation. And that is what it is. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. Not only does Pat Miletich deserve to not have a job for LFA, he should not get hired again in this realm at all. You shouldn't. You're a traitor to this nation. It is what it is. And here's the thing. Also, isn't he a UFC Hall of Famer?
Yeah, he's a UFC Hall of Famer.
Yeah, you are stricken from the history books, my boy. You should not even be there either. But as we know, the UFC is run by white supremacists, so that's not going to happen.
They're talking about that in other sports as well, like with the NBA and other organizations, of just taking these guys out. WWE too, of just taking these guys out of their Hall of Fames because of what just happened recently. What just happened recently was very serious and very scary for this country and for people. Like, they keep comparing it to the Black Lives Matters protests and things like that. It is not the same thing. This is not the same thing. It is very different. And if you don't understand that, you need to do your research, or you need to get it together, because it's not the same.
If you don't understand that, you're part of the problem.
Yeah. And if you're a guy like Pat Miletich, who your name is out there, you are a famous person, You are somebody of some significance to an organization that is bringing up fighters and putting them in the likes of the UFC and Bellator. A lot of guys came out of LFA. A lot of people tune into LFA as well. You think they want that around with their names? No. Even if crazy people were running that organization, whatever it is, it's still going to affect them in some capacity. And that's not a smart thing for somebody like him to do. If I was him, you're doing something like that, don't post pictures on Facebook. Just do what you're going to do. Come back to your regular life and do whatever. I'm not saying what he did was right. I disagree with it 100%, but not a smart way to go about it. If I'm running LFA, you're out of there too. I do not want you. I don't care how good you are, because he is a very good commentator. I've met Pat Miletich before. Amazing. He used to do CFA down here. Great commentating, but you made a mistake, my friend. And that's something, unfortunately, you have to pay for. Just like the guys who are trying to get on flights and all of a sudden you're on a no-fly list and they don't understand why you're not on it. You are
talking about my guilty pleasure? Watching all these these idiots getting taken off. You
are basically almost a domestic terrorist in here, just doing something as crazy as that and invading one of the most important buildings we have in this country. That is crazy. That is nothing to be taken lightly. It is nothing to laugh about, nothing to joke about. It's just very crazy and scary. You know, a lot of people are getting into depression watching these things and seeing these things on TV. I was just talking to my aunt. She felt depressed watching stuff like this. And to see a guy like Pat Miletich to go and be one of those people and riot and just that's not an American. At the end of the day, that is not being an American. I don't care how much you want to call yourself a patriot. That is not a patriot.
No. I mean, think about this. Last Wednesday was the first time in our country's history that the Confederate flag was flown and waved in the fucking U.S. Capitol. Ain't that some shit?
That is crazy.
And again, people are like, oh, this is our history, our culture. That's not history. That's not culture. Those are literally traitors to our country that literally fought against our country for the right to own black people. That is literally the only reason they fought. People, open your eyes if you don't see this. It's utterly ridiculous.
It's definitely scary. We had a comment here, somebody saying almost a domestic terrorist. They are. Yeah, they are.
Flat.
100% they are. Yeah. I don't know why I said almost. I was kind of going on a tangent there. I guess I shuffled my words, but 100% are. Let's move on to the next topic, because this could we can go on for a long time with this. But we definitely agree on that with the firing of him. But during this break period of not having any fights, Dana White put together a 5-minute video. I'm going to say that one more time. Put together a 5-minute video of just bashing the media for speaking about the UFC during the coronavirus time period. If you actually listen to the media when they were speaking about the UFC, they said that it is a great thing because, number one, it still gives them a job. Number two, it gives them something to cover. Number three, it gives them something to watch still during this time period. It helps the mental. Number four, they were praising Dana White for getting everything together, making sure they have the correct protocols, making sure they have the people taking tests to make sure they don't have coronavirus. Like, they were praising him, but he took all these little tidbits from these media places and just like put it together and acted like they were the worst thing ever. Serge, we are MMA media. How do you feel about a guy like Dana White speaking about media like that? Who, without the media, what headlines would you have? You think you would have headlines by yourself, or people would be watching it just from the stuff that you put out? Come on now.
I'm so happy that last part. I'm so happy you said that. You're coming at the people who have built your company. And I said that on my show, and I said that on Twitter, and I had people I got a little backlash. Oh, you guys think you're built the sport and everything? I mean, yeah. How else would anyone know about it? Because people, when I first started watching MMA, you had to fucking rent VHSs. You had to go to a fucking Blockbuster and go to the back section where they put fucking porn and find fights. That's how it wasn't no media. You had to be like, I saw this thing one time back when somebody told me. It was like this like secret video that everyone passed around. Here, look at this. This is crazy. You know what I'm saying? So the media are the people that brought this to everyone. And you made it such an amazing point. He took everything out of context. The only time the media bashed Dana White is when he was trying to rush the event when everyone was shutting everything down without doing proper protocol. He was trying to do things. He was trying to rush it. And the media said, bro, pump the fucking brakes. Let's do this the right way. And then, yes, do it. And guess what? When he did that, the media was the first ones cheering him. Dana, yay! You're the fucking man. That's what all year. At the end of the year, how many of these MMA shows did I see praising Dana White at the end of the year? Yo, you have seen Dana White one year. It was the NBA and the UFC. Everyone said that. But to sit there and take everything out of context and put some bullshit, fake news, Trumpian ass political hit job out there, bro, like, leave it to Dana White to stroke himself off, man. What a doof.
I didn't like that from him. That really pissed me off. But Dana White is so off and on about a lot of different topics. You hear him say things about 5 years ago to him now. It's always something different. He's not too consistent with
all the time.
Yeah, he contradicts himself too much. Maybe he should not do media anymore and kind of be like Scott Coker and do media like once every 3 or 5 months. But he just loves that limelight and loves to speak to them because he just wants to prove everybody wrong. He has such a big ego and just, I'm going to prove you guys wrong. Ego. You tell him he's not going to do something, he's going to do it. I get it. It's good in some circumstances, but in a circumstance like this, no. Media was praising you. Media has a lot to do with the company that you run, and you need to praise media more and give them more credit for stuff. I mean, I know he has his personal issues with Ariel Helwani, et cetera, but that's a whole different personal thing. But I don't think he should be making 5-minute videos about the media. That's very petty. Didn't love it. We'll never love that.
It was tacky. It was such a classless move.
Very classless.
And also the person that he went out there, and I'll be honest with you, what's his name? Brian Campbell.
Brian Campbell.
CBS.
Brian Campbell and Luke Thomas. But it was Brian Campbell's specific comment. Yeah.
Specific.
With Showtime.
And one of the things that I have to say about it is just like, if you follow anything that Brian Campbell said, he was probably Dana's biggest supporter.
Yes, he was. He was.
Like, if you want to get some like Dana bashing videos, you should listen to the Fight Podcast. There's plenty of them there. But that dude was praising you constantly.
Yep.
And when I saw it, it was just like, I just couldn't believe it, dog. I could not believe it. It was one of those things. It's laughable. It's laughable, and it's just like, don't you have better things to do than make these fucking videos?
About the
let's get Nick and Nate Diaz back in here. Let's make that fight happen.
Seriously, but we're gonna end this on a brighter note and a better subject. Besides that, the UFC is no longer banning positive marijuana tests. I think I spelled marijuana wrong. I don't know if I did or not, but whatever. Doesn't matter. You know what I'm talking about. That is huge for the UFC. But Serge, let me ask you this question: just because the UFC doesn't ban it, Nevada State Athletic Commission can still catch you for something. Is this still big, or is that still a hurdle they have to cross with a athletic commission like Nevada?
I honestly, this is a step in the right direction. I think that the UFC has enough weight behind them that if they say that that's fine, I think that Nevada will kind of let it go. I think they won't do anything. They'll kind of be chill about it just because. I mean, think about it. The UFC is the only reason Nevada State Athletic Commission made any money last year.
That's true. That is a fact. But I mean, I guess it's one good hurdle, to at least the UFC won't give you issues with it. And I think eventually, especially when marijuana is legal everywhere else in this country, it's not going to be an issue. A lot of companies talk about how it helps athletes, especially with pain, especially with like them not having to take painkillers. Painkillers.
Well, did you hear? Also, the UFC announced today, and Mark Raimondi reported of ESPN. Mm-hmm. He was talking about how the UFC also is starting to test psychedelic therapy for their athletes, and that has been known to help cure PTSD and kind of revert even some of the damages
and the brain damages.
Things. Exactly.
Yeah, we saw the MMA Fighting put out that piece on Spencer the Kingfisher, which was so tough sad to watch. Watching that was unbelievable. I definitely, when I get deeper into my career with covering mixed martial arts, want to find some kind of way to help fighters after they leave the UFC, because, man, it's not fair for these guys who made the UFC become a $4 billion company and then be nothing after, take the brain damage and just become vegetables and not remembering their kids. And that's just scary to see and scary to watch.
Scary.
I know boxing has some sort of something that helps fighters after, but MMA needs it too. Not just the UFC, the MMA period needs that. So hopefully something can be worked out in that standpoint. But glad to see something is moving along in the right direction within MMA. Love to end on that note. Serge, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you so much, of course.
My brother, always.
Hey, let them know where to find you at.
Absolutely. Hey, you guys can find me everywhere at The Fight Podcast on social media for all of your fight news and culture news needs, man. You could follow us at the website, fightpodcast.com, as well everywhere at The Fight Podcast, man. We're on YouTube. We're on everything. YouTube, social media, website, all that good stuff, man. So check us out at thefightpodcast.com. We just interviewed Rob Font yesterday. Great interview. You guys check it out. Interview.
Absolutely. And Nick, of course, thank you so much for being here. We'll be back. He'll be back next week. I'll be here, MMA Island, on this island. I stay on this island, not moving for a very long time, of course. Appreciate them as well. Guys, if you see that little button down there, please subscribe. Let's get the subscribers up so you get that notification every time we are on here live. This will be on Spotify, iTunes, Google, everything right after this. It'll be on YouTube. You can watch it, preview that card so you guys can watch it on Saturday. Don't forget, prelims at 12 Eastern time, 9 Pacific. The main card is at 3 Eastern, 12 Pacific. It's going to be an earlier card because of the Abu Dhabi time, which is fine because you can watch good fights and then enjoy the rest of your day. Hopefully the UFC pays me one day for promoting their brand. But anyways, we'll be back next week. I'll be on Serge's podcast. I'll be on mine for sure. We're going to do a whole roundtable on that amazing next Saturday card, which is going to be unbelievable. We're out. Appreciate you guys. Mystic Hour live on MMA Island. We're out. Boom.